Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join today's webinar on EU battery regulations. A recorded version of the webinar will be available to you after the broadcast has finished. This will include a recording of the Q&A at the end. We'd love to hear from you, so please submit your questions at any time during the webinar. You can find the Q&A panel on your screen, and your questions will not be seen by any other attendees. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can, but if we do run out of time, we will follow up on any unanswered questions via email. As an introduction, I am Danielle and I'm a Business Development Manager here at TÜV SÜD. I am part of the Academy team and I've been working here for the past 3 years. My role involves overseeing the sales side of the Academy, as well as managing key accounts and business development opportunities. So if you do have any training related questions after the webinar, please feel free to reach out to me. Today we will be discussing EU battery regulations. Our presenter for today is Dr. Mohammed Rajavar, Senior Lifecycle Assessment Consultant and a trainer for our EU battery regulations course. Mohammed is a senior LCA consultant at TÜV SÜD with over a decade of experience in life cycle assessment, carbon footprint analysis, and sustainability. He has worked across sectors including energy, construction, agriculture, and electric vehicles, both in academia and industry. Before joining TÜV SÜD, he was a senior research associate at Newcastle University and part of the Faraday Institution's ReLib project on battery recycling. Mohammed has published extensively and received recognition for his work, including the 2021 Gradale Prize. At TÜV SÜD, he now supports companies in understanding and improving the sustainability of their products, particularly in life with the EU battery regulations. So I'll hand things over to you, Mohammed.
Thanks very much for the introduction, Danielle, and hello everyone. Today I'm going to present some materials on EU battery regulation. The goal of this webinar is to help you understand the regulation by breaking down the legal jargon into simple and clear language. The regulation itself is broad and complex, and it includes definitions and terms, some of which are not commonly used elsewhere. So we are following a simplified approach today to give you a clear overview of the regulation and its key requirements, with a focus on battery sustainability, safety, life cycle management, and traceability. We will go through the key requirements of the regulation and explain them briefly. So let's kick things off with an overview of the EU battery legislation. Before the EU battery regulation came into force, the main legal framework was the EU Battery Directive 2006. It aims to improve the environmental performance of batteries and governs how batteries are manufactured and disposed of across the European Union. However, over time, challenges with the directive became clear. For example, meeting targets for collection, recycling, and repurposing proved difficult. The directive also lacked flexibility to keep up with recent technological progress, technological advances, and new battery applications. In response, the EU Commission began working on a new regulation in 2020, which was formally approved by the European Parliament and Council in mid-2023. The new regulation officially entered into force on 18th of August 2023. That is when it became EU law, but it doesn't mean that all requirements takes effect immediately. Instead, it follows a phased implementation, with first set of rules applying from 18th of February 2024. I'll go into more detail on those phases shortly. Also worth noting that the content of the regulation will continue to evolve through secondary legislation, including delegated act and implementing acts. Eventually, this new regulation will replace the current directive. The directive will remain in effect for 2 years after the regulation's start date, allowing for a transitional period. And finally, because it's a regulation, not a directive, it applies directly across all EU member states without needing to be written into national laws. This ensures the consistency and avoid legal differences between countries. It's important to highlight that EU battery regulation is a part of a is not a standalone initiative. It's a key pillar of European Green Deal and Circular Economy Action Plan. As you may know, the European Green Deal outlines an ambitious vision for addressing the climate crisis, transforming industries, and embedding sustainability across the EU economy. Within this broader strategy, Circular Economy Action Plan plays a central role. It introduces a set of measures aimed at making sustainable products, services, and business models the norm, while also reshaping consumption patterns across Europe. The battery regulation is a part of a growing family of legislation, which also includes eco-design for sustainable product regulation, or ESPR, end-of-life vehicle regulation. These three instruments are aligned around several key goals. For example, ensuring products are sustainable by design, requiring recycled content and responsible sourcing, promoting repairability, reusability, and recyclability, introducing digital product passport for greater transparency, and combating greenwashing and ensuring accurate environmental information. Together, these regulations reflect a coordinated EU effort to embed circularity, sustainability, and transparency across different sectors. The aim of the EU battery regulation is to ensure that batteries placed on the European market are sustainable and safe throughout their entire life cycle, while also supporting the development of a strong European battery industry and value chain. To achieve this, the legislation covers all relevant stakeholders and activities involved in battery life cycle. This regulation sets requirements on sustainability, safety, labeling, marking, information. It also establishes minimum requirements or minimum standards for extended producer responsibility, the collection and treatment of waste batteries, and reporting. It's important to note that most of these requirements apply across the entire life cycle of batteries. The objective of regulation, the regulation establishes a comprehensive framework to manage the entire life cycle of batteries. It aims to create a sustainable battery value chain while addressing environmental and human health concerns through a harmonized regulatory framework. The regulation covers all stages of a battery's life cycle and includes provisions to ensure batteries are safe and durable, have a low carbon footprint, use fewer harmful substances, reduce reliance on critical raw materials from outside the Europe, and to ensure that batteries can be collected, reused, and recycled primarily within Europe. These new rules will affect the design, production, and waste management of batteries manufactured or sold in Europe. They also extend producer responsibility and require supply chain due diligence to assess social and environmental risks. The EU battery regulation consists of 14 chapters, 96 articles, and 15 annexes. Each chapter focuses on a specific area, grouping related articles to address key regulatory topics throughout the battery life cycle. These chapters are organized by themes, as you can see on the screen, covering product sustainability, obligations for environmental operators, oversight mechanisms, and legal provisions. Key compliance areas include sustainability requirements, due diligence, waste management, and digital battery passport. If we take a high-level overview of the regulations requirements, we can group them into 4 main categories: CE marking and related conformity assessment procedures as the first one. Next is digital battery passport, due diligence policy requirements, and management of waste batteries. First, the CE marking and conformity assessment procedures focus on sustainability and safety requirements, labeling, marking, information obligations, as well as other responsibilities of economic operators. The digital battery passport requirements deal with transparency and traceability throughout the battery lifecycle. Due diligence policy requirements focus on assessing and managing social and environmental risks in the supply chain. And finally, the management of waste batteries cover collection, recycling, and extended producer responsibilities. This is a very good digest of the regulation's key requirements. Although we can't discuss every article in detail today, we will have a quick overview of the most important ones. But before we move on to discuss some of the key articles, it's important to note that not all requirements apply to every actor in the battery supply chain. There are 2 key criteria that determine which specific requirements apply to which actor. The first criterion is the type of battery. The regulation covers all categories of batteries placed on the EU market or put into service within the European Union, regardless of whether they were produced in the Union or imported. The different type of batteries include electric vehicle batteries, light means of transport batteries or LMT, industrial batteries, starting, lighting, or ignition batteries in vehicles, SLI batteries, and portable batteries. Nevertheless, each battery category has specific requirements based on its intended use and environmental impact. The second criterion is the role of actor, which determines who specific requirements apply to. There are 2 main categories here: producers and economic operators. Starting with economic operators, this is a broad umbrella term. It includes anyone involved in battery's life cycle, from manufacturing, importing, distribution, to fulfillment of services, and even repurposing and remanufacturing. If you touch batteries in any meaningful way, you're likely an economic operator. On the other hand, we have a more specific role: the producer. A producer is someone who replaces batteries on the market for the first time in a member state under their own brand or by importing or selling it directly, even online. So while all producers are economic operators, not all economic operators are producers. The distinction here is important because each category carries different legal responsibilities under the regulation. Within each of these categories, more specific roles are defined to reflect different activities across the battery value chain. The roles are, for example, manufacturer, importer, distributor, etc. Let's have a quick overview of some of key requirements. The first set of requirements are related to sustainability and safety as part of CE marking requirements. In this category, the first article we will look at is Article 6, which sets requirements for substances that are harmful to human or animal life and as well as the ecosystem, not just during use, but throughout the entire battery life cycle, including waste handling and recycling. The restriction applies to all batteries and limits the use of substances already known to be hazardous, such as mercury, cadmium, lead, and other substances listed in Annex 1 of the regulation, It also aligns with other regulations like REACH regulation and end-of-life vehicle directive. So it covers substances mentioned in those regulations. If a substance is found to pose a serious risk to people or environment, whether during use, repurposing, or recycling, the European Commission has the authority to add new restrictions through a delegated act and update Annex 1 accordingly. It's worth noting that these restrictions do not apply to substances in scientific research and development, as long as the volume involved is less than 1 ton per year. The exemption covers covers activities such as experimentation, analysis, and chemical research. Article 7 aims to enhance transparency and sustainability in battery market by requiring calculation and declaration of carbon footprint for certain battery categories. Article 7 covers EV batteries, industrial batteries, and light means of transport batteries. Portable batteries are not currently included, but they may be covered after 2031. Under Article 7, the regulation introduces a phased approach to implementing carbon footprint of batteries, or CFB, for each battery types, as you can see on the slide. The process begins with a mandatory CFB requirement, or CFB declaration, sorry. Next, requirements for declaring and labeling CFB performance come into effect. And finally, CFB threshold requirements are introduced. For example, for EV batteries, the original timeline under Article 7 was set for February 2025, when the CFB declaration was supposed to become mandatory. Then, in 2026, the performance class requirement would apply, followed by the threshold limits in a later phase. However, there is still a critical gap, and that is the Delegated Act for EV batteries has not yet been published. I'll explain this in more detail in the next few slides, but in short, since the method for calculating the CFB for EV batteries has been delayed, the initial deadline has also shifted. A frequently asked question here is, when do we have to report the product carbon footprint of EV batteries? The answer is 12 months after the Delegated Act is published. Let's take a closer look at how carbon footprint requirements are structured. At the top level, we have Article 7, which sets the legal foundation and also sets the requirements for batteries to have a carbon footprint calculated and reported. This is followed by Annex 2, which provides a high-level overview of how the model of the CFB should be look like. Finally, the Delegated Act provides the detailed methodology for calculating and verifying carbon footprint of different batteries. However, the delegated acts are still under development, as I mentioned. Manufacturers must report the CFB of their batteries according to Article 7 and Annex 2 and have it verified by notified body using Annex 8 procedures. The Delegated Act will be crucial as they define how the calculation must be done for each type of battery and how verification should be carried out, building on the product environmental footprint method, which is a standardized methodology developed by European Commission and widely used for measuring the environmental impacts of products. Once CFB declaration becomes mandatory, the data calculation and final report must be verified by notified body. Notified body is an accredited organization designated by European Union member states to carry out the conformity assessment tasks. For most of CE requirements under EU battery regulation, you can see that manufacturers could do self-declaration or they can use NOBOs. However, for Article 7 and 8, verification by notified body is mandatory. So then the question is that what does it mean? It means to pass a NOBO check, it's essential to collect accurate and transparent data, build a robust CFP model, prepare a complete, well-documented report for CFP. It's also important to note that conducting a CFP assessment, and especially getting it verified, is a complex process. This is where our expertise comes in. We can help companies navigate and manage the process efficiently and reliably. The next requirement is Article 8, which focuses on recycled content in batteries. The main objective here is to increase the use of recycled materials, specifically cobalt, lead, lithium, nickel in battery manufacturing. This helps to reduce dependency on virgin materials, improve the overall sustainability of the battery value chain, and support the circular economy by keeping the valuable materials in the loop. Article 8 is really a forward-looking topic and requirement. It becomes mandatory starting August 2028, when battery manufacturers must report the percentage of recycled cobalt, lithium, and nickel in the active materials. Also, the percentage of lead in the entire battery must be reported. This article applies to a range of battery types as shown on the slide. To support this reporting, a delegated act is expected by August 2026, which will define the calculation and verification methodology, as well as the format for documentation and reporting. This gives manufacturers time to prepare for data collection, traceability, and verification. The second wave of Article 8 requirements takes effect in August 2031, when manufacturers must prove their batteries contain minimum levels of recycled cobalt, lead, lithium, and nickel. There are also conditions on the source of recycled materials. The third wave, however, begins around August 2036. Introducing higher recycling rates, as you can see on the screen, for cobalt, lead, lithium, and nickel. I should mention that these targets may evolve. Basically, the European Union will review the targets based on material availability and as well as market and tech developments. So targets may be updated or new materials may be added through delegated acts. Article 9 and 10 aim to improve battery performance, durability, and sustainability by introducing mandatory minimum values for electrochemical performance and durability. These requirements help ensure that batteries placed on the European market meet consistent quality and reliability standards. This table highlights the key requirements and deadlines for Article 9 and 10. The main difference is that Article 9 applies to portable batteries of general use, while Article 10 covers rechargeable industrial batteries, LMT batteries, and EV batteries. Under Article 10, electrochemical performance and durability parameters must be reported for these batteries at the first instance. Then, from 2027, mandatory minimum electrochemical performance and durability values for industrial batteries must be met, as set out in Annex 4 and the associated Delegated Act. There will be also mandatory minimum values for LMT batteries that become applicable from 2028. For all portable batteries of general use, the mandatory minimum values must be met starting in 2028 according to Annex 3 and the relevant Delegated Act. Next article is Article 12, that aims to ensure the safety of stationary battery storage systems. It requires manufacturers to conduct a hazard assessment, apply state-of-the-art safety testing, and prepare technical documentation that demonstrates how risks are mitigated and what emergency procedures are in place. All of these should be considered before the systems are placed on the market or put into service. Regarding the obligations, starting from 18th of August 2024, all stationary battery systems placed on the market or put into service must be supported by technical documentation to demonstrate compliance with Article 12. This documentation must confirm that the system meets the safety parameters set out in Annex 5 using state-of-the-art testing methods and only addressing hazards that are relevant to the battery's intended use. But it doesn't stop here. Manufacturers must also carry out a hazard assessment to identify any risks not already covered in Annex 5, and then test and document effective mitigation measures for those risks. Additionally, clear emergency response instructions must be included, for example, in case of fire or explosion. And importantly, for reuse, repurpose, and remanufacture systems, such documentation must be reviewed and updated to reflect any changes. Returning to key requirements of the EU battery regulation, there are a few remaining articles under CE marking section that focus on labeling, marking, and information requirements. We will now review these important aspects to understand what is expected from manufacturers and other economic operators. Article 13 focuses on ensuring clear and harmonized and accessible information about batteries for consumers, for recyclers, and for authorities. The key requirement is to attach physical labels to batteries that include all the necessary information to identify the battery, its ingredients, and support its safe use, safe handling, recycling, and disposal. These labels help everyone in battery value chain understand important details like battery type, safety instructions, capacity, and also it helps making the use and handling of batteries more efficient and safe. Let's take a closer look at Article 13. Starting August 2026, batteries must bear a label with general information as specified in Part A of Annex 6. Certain batteries, like rechargeable portable batteries, LMT batteries, and SLA batteries, also need to display their capacity. There are also additional labeling requirements for non-rechargeable portable batteries as well. Next requirement is marking requirement. Starting this year, all batteries must be marked with the separate collection symbol shown in Part B of Annex 6, which is with specific rules about its size and placement. So there are some rules about what should be the size of the label and where it should be placed. Batteries containing more than a certain amount of cadmium or lead must be marked with the chemical symbols as shown on the slide. However, I should mention that the requirements for this labeling came into force since 2024 in line with Article 6 requirements. From 2027, there are some QR code obligations. All batteries will also need to have a QR code. Depending on the battery type, this code will provide access to digital battery passport, the declaration of conformity, information on waste prevention and management, as well as recycled content. The next article is Article 14. This article ensures access to key battery condition data to support reuse, repurposing, and market integration. It aims to facilitate second life applications while protecting intellectual property. The goal here is to strike a balance, providing essential technical data to stakeholders like reuse operators and recyclers, but without compromising sensitive business information. This has been a challenge for a long time, which has been addressed using many articles, including this article. So Article 14 supports circularity and efficient resource use across the battery life cycle. Regarding the obligations, starting from 18th of August 2024, stationary battery energy storage systems, LMT batteries, and EV batteries must store key data in their battery management system, or BMS. From data, I mean state of health, or SOH, and expected lifetime, as listed in Annex 7. There are other key elements under Article 14, for example, access rights to data. Basically, read-only data access must be given to battery owners, recycling operators, and authorized third parties, ensuring fair access while protecting manufacturer's IP. The next is software reset function. BMS must allow software to be reset for third-party installation, as different operators throughout the supply chain might want to upload a different BMS software. However, it should be mentioned that manufacturers are not liable for any issues after such resets. And last but not least, these requirements complement existing EU vehicle type approval laws, not replace them. So far, we have walked through the key requirements tied to CE marking. Now, if we go back to the conformity assessment procedure and CE marking slide, you will remember that for some articles, manufacturers can declare conformity either through self-declaration or by involving a notified body. However, for Article 7 and Article 8, the assessment must be done by notified body following the procedure in Annex 8. Regarding steps, the first step for manufacturer is to prepare technical documentation. This should address each applicable article by including data, results, and supporting evidence. Once technical documentation is ready, manufacturers must conduct a risk assessment and carry out the relevant conformity assessment procedure under Article 17. Additionally, a user manual must be provided with the battery. This should include safety information and all documentation regarding required under Article 6 to 10 and 12 to 14. If then everything checks out, the manufacturer draws up the EU Declaration of Conformity as per Article 18 and affix the CE mark following Article 19 and 20. It's important to note that while these steps are mainly the manufacturer's responsibility, in some cases, importers or other economic operators may also be liable and need to perform similar tasks. For a detailed understanding of your company's specific role and obligations in battery supply chain under EU battery regulation, I strongly recommend getting in touch with our experts. We can help clarify your responsibilities and guide you through the required documentation. Now, let's move on to the remaining key requirements of the regulation, which falls outside CE marking. These cover digital battery passport under Article 77 to 78, battery due diligence policies under Article 47 to 53, and management of waste batteries under Article 54 to 76. The digital battery passport aims to improve traceability and transparency across the battery life cycle by providing digital access to key information about each battery, for example, information about materials used, performance, carbon footprint, etc. And there is a tiered access, so there are different levels of access to various actors in the supply chain. Um, so the whole idea to support reuse, repurposing, recycling, and all battery actors throughout the battery supply chain. Under battery due diligence, Article 47 to 53 apply to economic operators with an annual turnover of more than 40 million euros. The aim here is to um, ensure a responsible sourcing of critical raw materials like cobalt, natural graphite, lithium, and nickel, while managing environmental and human rights risks. This includes implementing risk assessment, third-party audits, and public disclosures. So it is not as simple as you just declare that the batteries are of low environmental or social risks. There should be a risk management system in place, risk assessment, third-party audits, etc. The obligations for battery due diligence were originally set to take effect from August 2025 this year. However, the European Commission has published a proposal suggesting a 2-year delay to allow time for development of proper guidelines and to give economic operators placing batteries on the EU market more time to prepare. There are also some suggested changes regarding the financial threshold for economic operators. If you're interested in learning more about due diligence under EU battery regulation, we are holding a webinar on the 18th of June, and I recommend you to register for that webinar as well. Lastly, waste battery management focuses on minimizing environmental impact and supporting the circular economy. It sets obligations for producers, distributors, waste management operators, public waste management authorities, end users, etc. These include collection targets, extended producer responsibilities, and recycling efficiency thresholds. And there are some key deadlines for these requirements ranging from 2025 to 2031. For example, from 31st of December this year, lithium-ion batteries must achieve a minimum recycling efficiency of 65% by weight. For more information, you can also look at Annex 12. Now we have a good understanding of the EU battery regulation. Then the next question is what comes next? Naturally, the next step is getting ready to comply, especially for those directly affected by the regulations, such as battery manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers, or battery energy storage system operators. It's important to understand that the geographical location does not exempt you. No matter where in the world batteries or vehicles are produced, if they are placed on the EU market, then the regulatory obligations apply. This is what gives the EU battery regulation its global reach and impact. Take, for example, a producer in China. They might not sell their batteries directly to the Europe, but if their batteries are integrated into a vehicle or device that ends up in the European Union, they can still be held accountable under specific conditions. So for companies that want to stay competitive and retain market access, the message is clear. Start preparing now. So preparation is key, and early action is critical to staying ahead of compliance deadlines. To succeed, companies must foster collaboration across internal departments as well as supply chain partners. The path forward begins with a clear understanding of where you stand today in terms of compliance with the regulation. So what we suggest is as follows, as you can see on the slide. The first step is to assess your battery regulation readiness, evaluating current operations in areas such as performance, durability, raw material sourcing, carbon footprint, etc. This should be followed by a gap analysis to identify where changes are needed to align with the new regulatory expectations. Next, it's essential to develop a compliance roadmap. This should outline short-term actions like preparing for carbon footprint reporting by 2026, midterm steps such as aligning with digital battery passport requirements by 2027, and long-term strategies to meet recycled material content targets by 2036. Once your roadmap is defined, the next stage is implementation. Meeting reporting obligations, monitoring recycling developments, and building internal capacity to adapt to technical and operational challenges. And finally, remember that compliance is not a one-time process. Continuous improvement is critical. So proactive planning, timely resource allocation, and regular monitoring will help your business adapt to ongoing regulatory evolution while staying competitive in the market. In order to help companies to achieve conformity with EU battery regulation, we have developed a service portfolio. Let me briefly walk you through our end-to-end technical verification service and how we support you across the entire compliance journey for the EU battery regulation. We start with step one, gain understanding, where we introduce you to the legislation, help clarify any initial questions, and work with you to interpret the regulatory requirements from your company's perspective. Step two is preparation and assessment. Here we help you validate your interpretation of the regulation, conduct a tailored readiness assessment, and evaluate where you stand against the EU battery regulation requirements. Step three is planning and implementation. We work together to build a clear, detailed roadmap with review loops and milestones to check the progress of your conformity with the regulation. Or modular service then offers a variety of options for you, depends on your needs, whether that's CE marking, technical documentation, or specialized services like recycling rate verification. And finally, in step four, declaration and certification, we help you achieve timely regulatory compliance, keep you informed on upcoming legislative changes, and reduce the effort of continuous recompliance checks. By partnering with us, you benefit from TÜVSÜD's deep regulatory expertise, ensuring a smooth and efficient path to compliance and certification. This slide presents our modular service offering to support your journey through our EU battery regulation compliance. We provide different types of training, whether you are looking for a general overview or a bespoke session tailored to your operations. So depending on your needs and the maturity of your knowledge regarding EU battery regulation, different formats and levels of detail are possible. We also offer targeted readiness checks, including CE marking readiness and due diligence assessment preparation. In addition to these broader services, we can support you with specific needs such as hazardous substance detections, product carbon footprint verification, recycled content verification, etc. And you can see the rest on the slide. We also offer testing services or testing capabilities, span chemical analysis required under Article 6, as well as safety, durability, and performance testing. All these services can be tailored to your business's role in the battery value chain. If you'd like to get more information, more details, or need more guidance on where to start, feel free to reach out after this webinar. We are happy to help. Now turning to the carbon footprint of batteries under Article 7, which is one of the most discussed topics. We offer end-to-end services from advisory to verification. Basically, we can offer advisory services helping you understand and prepare for the regulation. This includes training, technical knowledge, knowledge sharing sessions or meetings, and support you with data gathering. Next step is gap assessment. Here we tailor assessment to your needs and prepare you for the regulation. This includes a structured top-down approach across several iterations to find the gaps. We focus on the methodology and calculation rules. The outcome is a detailed deviation report highlighting areas for improvement. Then comes verification aligned with ISO 14064-3. We verify all current requirements from Article 7 and the latest Delegated Act draft, helping you move confidently toward audit readiness backed by a verification statement. And finally, when notified bodies are appointed, we will offer full verification under EU battery regulation through our own notified body services. TÜV is currently in the process of becoming one of the first NOBOs. In short, we can support you throughout the entire compliance journey, from advisory through gap analysis to full regulatory verification. And last but not least is the EU battery regulation training course we offer. This course is available to all customers and sits outside or regular modular service offering. It provides a comprehensive overview of the regulation, delves deeper into specific requirements, and includes interactive discussions for a more engaging learning experience. So if you are interested, please visit the TÜV Academy website for more information. Thank you very much for your attention today, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mohammed, for an interesting and informative presentation. As I mentioned, we will now run through some of the questions we've received throughout. I think we've received quite a few there. But again, if we don't get round to all of these, we will reach out after the webinar. And if you do still have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A panel now, and we can respond to them via email if we don't get a chance in the next 5 or so minutes. So I will hand back to you now, Mohammed, to run through some of the questions we've received.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sure. The first question I received is, so I won't read out names, I just read out questions. Will all batteries have to bear the CE logo? Yes, all batteries that are placed on the European market will eventually need to bear the CE marking, just like other regulated products. And as you know, this is mainly for first consistency and meeting safety, performance, environmental requirements under EU battery regulation. Next question is, what does the QR code label mentioned in Article 13 provide access to? So as I mentioned, the QR code shall provide access to a variety of things. It depends on the battery type first, but it can provide link to battery passport. For some batteries, like SLI batteries, it can provide links to information on capacity of batteries. For some batteries, it links to minimum average usable duration. Also, it links to declaration of conformity, report on battery due diligence, and information on waste prevention. Yeah. Next question is, will the battery regulations be added to the list of products covered by the CE marking directives? Yes. So the new battery regulation includes specific provisions for CE marking, so it will be treated similarly to other CE marked products. With a clear conformity assessment procedure and rules. I hope it answers your question. Next question is, what methodology should be used to calculate the recycled content in batteries before the Commission defines the method in 2026? Yeah, that's a good question. As we know, we are waiting for the delegated act for calculating the recycled content under Article 8. Until that time, disclosure is voluntary, so companies will likely to follow different methods, perhaps average industry practices standards like ISO 14021 or EN 15343, which is for assessing the portion of recycled content in products, or EN 43557, which is for assessing recycled materials in energy-related products. But I think the most important thing is that chain of custody and mass balance principles play a key role in any of these, and perhaps in the Delegate Act that we are waiting for. I hope it answers your question. Then there's a question about digital battery passport. Does it apply to all the products or limited to certain market, for example, EVs? If it applies, what level of information will be included, and how should manufacturers disclose the information online or provide by demand? So the first part, the digital battery passport, only applies to industrial batteries, electric vehicle batteries, LMT batteries. It must include data regarding performance, durability, recycled content, carbon footprint, due diligence, and it as I mentioned, it gives a different level of access to different actors and stakeholders throughout the market, and this information should be accessible digitally, usually using a QR code, and there will be a platform hosting all these information, so these information are not stored locally only on manufacturer's website or their internal systems. Next question. What happens if a battery exceeds substance limit due to legacy components during reuse or remanufacture? So I think this question is related to Article 6, which usually applies to all batteries. If a battery is reused, but without altering the design of the battery, it can be exempt. But if it's repurposed, remanufactured, then it's considered as placed on the market as new, and then must comply with substance restrictions mentioned in Article 6. Next question. What information is required on battery labels? So there are some general information that should be included, like type of battery, chemistry. But for some batteries, as I mentioned, there are more information that is needed, like capacity of the of battery. Also, there should be some labels for separate collection, for hazardous substances like cadmium, lead. For some batteries, carbon footprint and recycled content labels is also required. So these will come into effect this and next year. Then next question. Are there special rules if a stationary battery is reused or repurposed? I think if we go to slide 23. Yeah. So question again, are there special rules if a stationary battery is reused or repurposed? The answer is yes. So basically, technical documentation must be reviewed and updated for reused, repurposed, and remanufactured batteries. This means safety parameters should be reviewed, and for safety parameters, you can see a list of a list of safety parameters in Annex 5. Next question. Are industrial batteries per definition always more than 2 kilowatt-hour, or can a battery at 0.1 kilowatt-hour also be defined as industrial battery, or is it portable? So basically, it's not just about capacity. A battery can be industrial if it's designed for industrial use, regardless of the size. But 0.1 kilowatt-hour battery in a consumer device would usually be classed as portable battery. So some articles refer to the capacity, some articles refer to weight. So there are two tiers, more than 2 kilowatt-hour and also more than 5 kilograms of weight. But as I said, it's important to consider what was the intended use of the battery as well.
Probably, Mohammed, just time for one more question.
All right. Next question. Are the labeling requirements applicable on each product level or the packages level? Well, actually, labels must be installed on the batteries, on the battery itself. When there is no place or no area to place the labels on the batteries, then it should be placed on the packaging and supporting documents that come with it. Yeah, so I think that answers the question.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And thank you again for joining us, everyone. We did receive a few more questions there. We've just run out of time. But as mentioned earlier, we'll be sending you an on-demand version of the webinar after the event is finished, and we'll answer any other questions as well. So for attending the event, you now have 10% off a TÜV SÜD Academy training course if you use the exclusive webinar discount code webinar_10. This includes our one-day EU battery regulations training course we have coming up on the 29th of July that will be delivered on Microsoft Teams. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for other webinars about this topic, which you will find on the resource section on our website, www.tuvsud.com/en-gb. please get in touch and let us know if there's any other webinar subjects you would like us to cover. It's great to hear exactly what you're interested in hearing about. And yeah, feel free to get in touch with me via the email address that should be on screen, or send any inquiries to info.uk@tufsud.com. On behalf of myself, Mohammed, and everyone at TÜVSÜD, thank you for taking your time today to join us on this webinar, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.